I never thought I'd have to go to war with my own neighbor, but when your packages start disappearing right from your front porch, and all signs point to the neighborhood HOA Karen, something has to be done. It started off small: missing mail, a few delayed deliveries, but then I noticed a pattern. Every time I got a package notification, I'd come home to find nothing there. That's when I set up a camera, and what I saw made my blood boil. There she was, the woman who always complains about trash bins being out too long and lawns not being trimmed to HOA standards, casually strolling up to my door like she owned the place, and walking away with my stuff. At first, I tried to reason with her. I even brought it up during an HOA meeting. But she denied everything. Of course, smiling like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. That's when I knew, if she was going to play dirty, I had to get creative. So I put together a little plan, a harmless one, but one that would make her think twice before stealing again. Let's just say it involved a decoy package and a realistic rubber snake inside. You won't believe what happened when she picked it up. What started as a simple way to protect my deliveries turned into a moment the entire neighborhood would be talking about. I didn't expect it to go as far as it did, that it would trigger something even bigger than just missing packages. Because the moment she opened that box, the real drama began. And what she did next, well, it changed everything. Stick around, because what happened after that snake popped out is something you have to see to believe. Let me know if you'd like help writing the next part of the story, creating a suspenseful thumbnail, or crafting a channel description. So, here's the thing about living in an HOA neighborhood: you don't get to pick your neighbors. And mine? She was the unofficial queen of the block. Everyone called her Karen, but not just because of her name. She was the type who measured grass with a ruler, sent out warning letters about basketball hoops left out too long, and peeked through her blinds like it was her full-time job. People usually just ignored her, but when packages started disappearing from doorsteps all around our street, the mood shifted. I wasn't the only one. Sarah across the street lost her new blender. Mike next door never got his headphones. It wasn't long before whispers turned into suspicion. They all pointed to the same house, Karen's. She always had a reason to walk around the block. Getting steps in, she said. But no one ever saw her with a package. At least not until I caught it on video, after I planted the snake box. I waited by the window, heart racing like I was pulling off a heist. She strutted up like it was just another Tuesday. The moment her hand touched the box, I could barely breathe. And when she opened it and saw that coiled rubber snake spring up, she screamed so loud it startled the dog 3 houses down. She stumbled back, dropped the box, and looked around like someone had just exposed her deepest secret. Then, she did something strange. She picked up the box and ran inside with it. That's when I realized this wasn't just about stealing. There was something else going on behind that carefully trimmed hedge and perfect paint job. Something she didn't want anyone to know. Because if it was just a prank to her, she would have left the box. But the way she held on to it, like she needed to hide something, it got me thinking, what else had she taken? Let me know if you want help with the next plot twist, a character deep dive, or even a script version of this scene. After that moment, things around the neighborhood started to shift. Karen didn't come out as often. No early morning patrols, no passive-aggressive notes taped to mailboxes. It was quiet to quiet. But the real surprise came a few days later, when a few of us got unexpected packages dropped on our porches. Not new ones, old ones. Stuff that had gone missing weeks ago. Sarah got her blender. Mike found his headphones. Even I got back a shirt I'd ordered last month and assumed had been lost. No note, no explanation, just the packages. It almost felt like she was trying to erase the evidence, but that only raised more questions. Why return them now? Why not earlier? And what about the box with the rubber snake? That one never came back. I started digging deeper. I talked to other neighbors, asked around, and one person, an older guy named Frank who lives on the corner, said something that stuck with me. He told me he once saw Karen bringing in several boxes late at night, all wrapped in other shipping labels. Said it looked like she was sorting or repacking them. At first, he didn't think anything of it. Thought maybe she ran a small business. But now, it sounded suspicious. Meanwhile, I noticed my mailbox had been tampered with. Just slightly, like someone had tried to peek inside or loosen the hinges. I checked my camera again, but this time, nothing. Clean footage, no visitors. But someone had clearly been there. It made me wonder, was Karen acting alone? Or was there someone else involved? And then there was her garage, always closed, always locked. But one night, as I was taking out the trash, I heard something from inside. A thud, then a strange dragging sound. It was faint, but real. And that's when I knew. I was only scratching the surface. Let me know if you want to continue with the next suspenseful turn. Develop Karen's backstory, or reveal what's hidden in the garage. I couldn't get that sound out of my head. The thud, the dragging, played over and over in my mind as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in the world was going on inside Karen's garage. Curiosity turned into obsession. I found myself walking past her house more often, pretending to check my mail or water the front plants, just to get a glimpse or hear something new. But everything stayed quiet. Too quiet, almost like she knew. I was watching now. One night I noticed her backyard light flicker on around midnight. I peeked through my curtains and spotted her slipping out her back door with a flashlight in one hand and a small box tucked under the other arm. She moved fast, like she was afraid of being seen, and disappeared behind the garage. That's when I made up my mind. I needed to know what she was hiding. The next day, I called in a favor from a friend who worked maintenance for another neighborhood nearby. He had one of those small inspection cameras thin enough to slide under a door or crack a window. That night, when I saw Karen drive off in her car, I made my move. I crossed the street, heart pounding, and crept up to her garage door. It was locked, but just as I hoped, there was a gap under the door just wide enough for the camera. What I saw chilled me. Rows of boxes, dozens of them lined up like some kind of secret warehouse. But it wasn't just packages. There were tools, tags, open letters, and what looked like a bulletin board covered in maps, names, and pictures. Some of those names were people on our street. Before I could process it all, I heard tires crunching gravel behind me. Her car. She was back. Let me know if you'd like to write the climax scene, explore what's on the bulletin board, or develop Karen's secret plan. I froze. Her headlights cut through the dark like searchlights, and for a split second, I thought I'd been caught. I yanked the camera back, heart hammering in my chest, and ducked behind the side of her house just as the garage door started to creak open. I held my breath, barely daring to move. She pulled in slowly, parked, and sat in the car for a moment longer than normal, like she sensed something was off. Then she stepped out, box still in hand, and walked toward the back door without glancing. Around, I waited until the door clicked shut before slipping away into the shadows and back to my house. Once inside, I reviewed the camera footage. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't before. On the bulletin board, next to the maps and photos, was a zoomed-in picture of me standing on my own porch, circled in red ink. A line connected my photo to another image, a man I didn't recognize. It wasn't just missing packages anymore. This felt bigger, deeper. The next morning, I decided to find out who the man was. I uploaded the image to a reverse search tool, and within minutes, I had a name: Daniel Whitaker. a former USPS employee who had been arrested 2 years ago for mail fraud in another state. Fired, charged, disappeared. But what was his connection? To Karen. That's when I remembered months ago, a guy had been visiting her house often. We all assumed it was her brother or a friend. But what if he wasn't just visiting? What if they were working together? Just as I started connecting the dots, my doorbell rang. No one was supposed to visit. I opened the door slowly and found a single box on my welcome mat. No label, just a note. Mind your business. Let me know if you'd like to continue. With the climax reveal, tie in Daniel's backstory, or add a new character twist. My hands trembled as I picked up the box. It was lightweight, but something about it felt heavy, like it carried more than just an object inside. I brought it in, placed it on the kitchen table, and stared at the note again. Mind your business. My first instinct was to call the police, but what would I say? That my HOA neighbor might be running some shady mail scheme out of her garage? I needed real proof. And this box. Maybe it had exactly that. I opened it slowly, half expecting another prank, but inside was a flash drive taped to a small notebook. The notebook was filled with scribbled notes, addresses, even package tracking numbers. But the real shock was on the flash drive. I plugged it into my laptop, and there it was, footage. Dozens of short clips showing Karen and that man, Daniel Whitaker, inside the garage, sorting packages, scanning mail, even altering shipping labels. They weren't just stealing for fun. They were reselling stolen goods from across the neighborhood and beyond. And I had the proof. I sent it all anonymously to the local authorities. The next morning, unmarked cars rolled into our quiet little street. Karen was escorted out in handcuffs, her expression blank, but her eyes, those eyes still burned with something dark. Whitaker was picked up hours later at a storage facility on the other side of town. It was over, or so I thought. A week later, as I cleaned out my security footage to clear storage, I found something I hadn't seen before. A clip from the night after Karen was arrested. A shadowy figure walking across my lawn. Not Karen, not Whitaker. Taller, slower. They stopped in front of my camera and looked straight into the lens. No face, just a hood. Then they walked away. I realized Karen might have been the face of the scheme, but she wasn't the only one behind it. Let me know if you'd like to create an epilogue scene, add a spin-off twist, or develop the mystery figure's identity. After seeing that hooded figure on my lawn, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger had been hiding behind Karen all along. But as the days passed and no one returned, the tension slowly began to fade. The police didn't find any other suspects, and Daniel eventually confessed to running the scheme with Karen as his inside contact. He had been using her position in the HOA to keep tabs on deliveries and find the easiest targets. Karen, it turned out, had been desperate for money after racking up debt and saw this as her way out. Their little operation had gone on for months, without anyone noticing, till that snake prank forced everything into the open. Neighbors, who once kept to themselves, started talking more. We shared stories, footage, and even helped each other set up better security. It felt like, oddly enough, the scandal brought our community closer. The packages stopped disappearing. Sarah finally got her blender to work. Mike actually laughed about his missing headphones, and me. I got peace of mind, knowing I stood up not just for myself, but for the whole street. As for the hooded figure, part of me still wonders who it was. Maybe just a neighbor checking on me. Maybe someone else involved who bailed when things got messy. I'll probably never know. But I kept that footage just in case. These days, I still get the occasional weird look from neighbors who watched everything unfold like a movie. And yeah, the snake box prank still gets brought up at HOA meetings, usually followed by awkward chuckles and side-eyes. In the end, I didn't set out to be the neighborhood hero. I just wanted my packages back. But sometimes, standing up to the wrong person can lead to uncovering a whole lot more than you expected. Let me know if you'd like help turning this into a YouTube script version, adding a voiceover intro, or writing a thumbnail caption.